Now, the final stage in this journey of thinking well is the Q. The T stands for theology, the H for history, the I for inquiry, the N for nuance, the Q stands for questions. You see, we have to be people who are comfortable asking questions, but you know what we want to do as Christians? We want to ask the best questions. We want to ask better questions than the world's asking about any of the issues that we're confronted with. Now, how do we ask better questions? We do that by understanding God's view on it through theology, the history of ideas. We've gathered information, we're humble in our approach, and now we have the ability to ask questions that are of consequence. And we actually see this modeled so beautifully in the New Testament. If you think of Jesus, he asked over 350 questions. He was a man of questions. You could say he was the best question asker. He asked the most provocative questions of people. They would try to confront him, trap him, persuade him, offer him some new ideology that they thought might be true. And he wouldn't often answer. In fact, he would answer by simply asking a question. Because when we ask questions, it actually forces people now to think for themselves. We don't just tell people what to think, we ask them to think. And in a world of confusion, of chaos, of emotivism, where our emotions are starting to drive what we believe is true or false, we're going to need to ask people to think. And we'll do that so well by asking good questions. I want to give you 4 questions that will help you as you start to frame the way in which you're going to approach asking questions in the world today related to a variety of issues. And this simple rubric of asking questions is going to help you know how to engage the world. And so the first question is the question, what is right? So when you're thinking about anything going on in the world, in your life, in your community, in your church, your organization, your family, the cultural issues, current issues that are happening around you, what is right? You see, when you ask that question, there's 2 things that you do with it. When you find something that's right, you become the kind of person that learns how to celebrate and cultivate that thing that's right in the world. Sometimes Christians haven't always been good at that. We've been really good at pointing out what's wrong and condemning it, but we haven't always been the best at celebrating all these beautiful things that are right, whether they were created by a Christian or not. And when we start to become better and more attuned to what's going right in the world, what things actually honor God, what things are based on virtue and morals and character and integrity, when we start to celebrate and cultivate those things, we start to amplify a better world. But we also have to ask some difficult questions, such as what is wrong? And when you ask the question, what is wrong, the action that's demanded of us is to stop it and to confront it. Now, this isn't always easy, and it is an area where many Christians have been known to spend most of their energy, and that is confronting and condemning things that are wrong in the world. But I think about what Andy Crouch spoke at our first THINQ Culture Summit in 2007, and he writes in his book, Culture Making, that the ways in which we're going to change culture isn't by condemning it, it's not just by consuming it, it's not just by constantly talking negatively about it. In fact, the way we change culture is to create more of it, create better forms of culture. And that starts to drive our action in a direction that's proactive, that's beautiful, that starts to create tangible expressions of the kingdom of God that the world gets to interact with. And so as we think about that question, what is wrong, consider what do you need to stop, because there are things that need confronted. There are injustices in the world. There are evil things that go forward in our world, and they must be stopped. They must be spoken to. It's not to dismiss that. But it is to say that we have a deeper responsibility. When we stop and confront, we better work hard to create something new that's going to allow the world to flourish. Which leads to my next question, what is missing? You see, in our world, when we find things are missing, and where there's been a vacuum that's created, where oppression has moved in, or where those with more power and greed and opportunity have moved in and they're taking advantage of vulnerability, then we must say, what needs to be created? And we become the types of people that create new things. We create new things, we catalyze things that we see that exist. We become the kinds of people that start to move good ideas forward, good tangible goods and services, things that represent goodness and truth and beauty in the world. We become the kind of people that create things when we ask that question. But then finally, the question of the day is, what is confused? You see, a lot of the confusion around ideas is confusion about what is true, what can be trusted, what is good. What is my meaning? What is my purpose? And there's lots of confusion for a new generation around these deeper questions that every human being asked. Where did I come from? What went wrong? Where am I going? How do I find meaning? And when things are confused, what we do is we start to clarify and we compel. And when we start to think well, we become clarifiers. We become people who compel others to start to find a path towards righteousness, to find a path towards real world wisdom that's going to help them cultivate in their own life a way of seeing the world, a way of interacting with other people, a way of finding their purpose in this life that starts to bring life, not just to them, but to all that are around them. And you see, this is the vision of thinking well. It's not that we're thinking well for ourselves. It's not that we're trying to just become smarter. It's not that we're trying to be those who have all the right answers so we can tell everybody else and persuade everybody else that we know what's right. We're actually becoming people that think well because we know that leads to good action. That when we think well about a person, when we think well about an issue, when we can recognize the lies and we can tell the truth, we start to lead lives that actually raise up the best in all of us, our character, our integrity, the dignity of all of human life. Thomas Sowell says this: when you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. You see, people who are thinking well start to have courage to tell people the truth. They have a confidence about them. It reminds me of Rosa Parks, who said this: I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. And in a culture where a lot of fear has started to drive emotional thinking, it started to drive people to maybe make decisions about their life that weren't based in goodness or truth or beauty, but were based in self-preservation, our world might become less polarized. We might move into a phase now where, as you as a leader, creating conversations right where you've been placed, whether it's a parent in your living room, whether it's a church leader that's speaking on a stage on a Sunday, a small group leader inviting people in your company to have conversations, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's with your leadership team, whether it's a Sunday school class, a high school room, a middle school teacher, a college professor. Wherever you are, as you start to help people think well, you're going to be bringing light into the world. You're going to be giving them this confidence that can't be found anywhere else. It's a confidence that's rooted in great theology, that understands history, that's inquiring of what is happening in the world and learning more about it, and then it's nuanced in how it's going to share. Then you've created people that know how to ask better questions. And you know what our world's looking for? They're looking for answers, but we can't get to the answers if we can't ask the right questions. So I'm so thankful that you've taken the time to investigate this with me, to consider how THINQ can come alongside and not only help you, but how this exercise could maybe be beneficial to your kids, could maybe be beneficial to your friends or to your small group or to the leadership in your church. That if we all started to take this approach, instead of being intimidated by this idea of Christian worldview, where we hear it and we think, man, I don't know that I can study it. I don't know that I can read the books. I can't become the theologian. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a historian. We start to see this as very approachable. We start to see this lens through which we can see the world as something that's helping us, that's a new pair of glasses that we're putting on. That no matter what the current issue is of our time, we will know how to see it with confidence. We'll know how to help others around us find wisdom. And I think when we do that, we'll be creating life for those around us in a way that they haven't experienced it. And not only will they experience life in a new way, but those around them will see it and they'll start to ask questions of them. What is this hope that is within you? And that is our hope. That is our hope for you. That is a hope for what we're doing through THINQ. And so I thank you for being a part of this journey with me.